This is going to be the most exciting presentation you've ever seen on content marketing. I'm just kidding. Now the bar is really high, and I have to go with it. A couple other things. One, I have no mic. 2, my slides messed up in the transfer. 3, I have foot cramps. And 4, I can't control my slides. So this is going to be an adventure, so bear with me. So I'm really, really excited to talk about this today. I only have 15 minutes, so it's very much a high-level overview. I have a lot of issues with content, and I think it's because, one, at every organization in the entire world, it's identified completely differently in terms of what it actually is. 2, I would say 99% of companies pursue content and content marketing and have 0 success with it, and they don't understand why. And so what I want to focus in today is just basically my own recent experience and what's worked for us. You're going to see that this is a very specific example of content. At Fundera, when we say content, we actually mean all organic marketing. I'm just choosing the one thing that's been most impactful for us. And so I hope you find it valuable. I also really hate talking at people. So if you want to stop and ask questions, or if I'm assuming you know what something means and you have no idea what it is, stop me, please, because then it'll feel more like a conversation, etc. So, but here we go. To jump right in, I think the thing that's most important is, who is Fundera? You could go ahead and go to that next slide, too. As I'm going to talk about all these things, they will make a lot more sense if you have context as to who our business is. You can jump ahead, Jake. Yeah, there you go. So our business, when we originally launched, we're a marketplace for small business loans. So if you were a business owner and you needed money, instead of going lender by lender, you come to us and you fill out one application and you can see all of your options. Over the past couple of years, in part to content, we've sort of evolved our business to now be sort of a go-to financial partner for business owners, whether they're looking for loans or bank accounts or credit cards, essentially just sort of displacing that relationship they normally have with the bank for those things, and instead coming to us and having that element of choice and financial expertise that they did not have previously. So that is Fundera. You have a sense of who we are. If we skip ahead, I also want to talk about who our customers are, and you can skip ahead. We are very much marketing to Main Street America. Does anybody else here market to small businesses? We should talk afterwards, have a drink, because it's not easy. And the reason is that this, in my experience, is the most fragmented audience I've ever worked with. There's not any real connector for them. The second is that they're a very strange mix of B2B meets B2C. They've got that longer sales cycle of B2B, but you know who you're selling to. You're selling to the business owner. You can clearly sort of pick them out. And the last is they're incredibly distrusting. If you think about it, these business owners, their business is their lifeblood, and if it fails, everything's done for them. So the stakes are high, you could say that. And so for me, knowing this, we know that because we don't know where to find them, we have to go meet them where they're at. We have to prep for that longer sales cycle. And most importantly, we have to build trust. So knowing all these things, go to the next slide. The best way to do this, does anyone know the answer? Great job. I'm done. I don't need to do anything else. They've got the whole point of the presentation. No, I'm just kidding. So jumping ahead, I want to go through this sort of evolution of content at Fundera and what it was initially and what it is today. So we can skip ahead one more. One more. It really makes me think about how I do my presentations now that I'm doing this. So when we launched in 2014, by about 6 months after, we decided we were going to invest in content because these business owners are incredible at baking cakes and building homes, but they are not financial experts. So we were going to build all this content to help push them through the sales cycle, because if you want to get a loan and you own a business, you got to know what all this means. Does anybody in this room know what all of this means? Some of it? Okay, that's good. If you don't know what this means, it could be the difference between tens of thousands of dollars a month in payments you're making. The mistakes are huge. So we thought we'd help them along, and we did. It was a great investment for us when we invested in sort of helping the sales funnel, pushing that along. But what started happening, and if you skip ahead, so we were writing these really riveting articles. You can see what a landlord subordination agreement really means. This isn't really riveting stuff. But we started to get organic traffic to our site. unintentionally. We were just writing this stuff, and it was getting traffic, and we weren't really trying. And we're like, there's something there. So we took a step back, and we revisited it. And if you go to the next slide, we asked ourselves those questions again. We know we need to meet our customers where they're at. We need to meet them early in the sales cycle, as early as possible, and we have to build trust. And what we realized was the answer to that question was SEO, which was answering our customers' questions. Let's go where they are, where they're already asking questions, and give them the best damn answer out there. So when we made this switch, if you jump ahead, and over the course of those 3 years after we made that decision, content now acquires over nearly 60% of our company's revenue. And all of our traffic to the site, nearly 80% of it is organic traffic from the search engines. Needless to say, content has built our business. We're 4 years old. We would not be able to be where we're at today, especially with the type of business model we have where it's free for the business owners. So we really, really, really believe in what content can do for a business. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we got here. If we go to the next slide, it's through SEO, which I feel like is a really, really dirty word, but I hope after today you learn to love it, at least in a little bit of a way. So when we think about SEO at Fundera, we usually break it out into 4 things. There's infrastructure, content creation, content optimization, and content distribution. Doing these 4 things, you can see we've been able to obviously earn all that organic traffic, rank for our most important terms such as small business loans organically. And I would love to walk through all these things in detail. Unfortunately, I do not have the time. So I'm going to focus in on what I firmly believe is the most important part of this entire process, and that is content creation. There you go. And we can skip ahead again. The reason that I think this is the most important part of the process, and you can skip ahead, Jake, is that it's really a lot more simple than people think it is. The fact of the matter is, if you build the best piece of content on the internet on a subject, your chances of ranking high for that are probably in the 75th percentile. It's very, very, very high. Now, that sounds really easy, but you know how many people hear this and they go out and all they do is write 500-word blog posts that are very generic and offer no specific advice to anybody? Majority. So it's a tough bar to understand because it's very qualitative. I'm going to try to help put some actual advice and quantitative metrics behind that. But always, always, always ask yourself, if you're working in the content marketing function, if you're implementing this at your organization, anything that you invest in, anything you publish, does it meet that bar? How do you figure it out? Go see what everyone else is doing. It's not that hard. You know the terms you want to rank for. Go look what everyone else is doing and confidently walk away and say, I know what I've done is better. So the first question I always get is like, what do I write? Like, where do I start? I firmly believe the difference between good SEO and great SEO is keyword research. I don't think enough people realize how much this can make you a differentiator. The first thing you've got to do is understand what people are actually searching. I hope you're saying to me, no, duh, but I often hear people say things that make me question this, and I'll give you an example from our business. So when we first launched, offered business loans. But guess what? There's about 500 different ways you can say business loan. You could call it business funding. You could call it business lending. You could call it business financing. I could keep going. And so I have my background and my understanding of how I've talked about these things. But for all I know, maybe the rest of America talks about it completely differently. So you have to really understand how your customers describe your product and the product you're selling. That's step 1. The next step is breaking out your keyword research. Well, there we go. Into 2 different buckets. There's high intent, and these are the people that are clearly searching for the product you're selling. This is, for example, when somebody goes into the search engine and types in business loans or business credit cards. They want what we got. But there's also another element to this. If somebody goes into the search engine and types in prepayment penalty, they have a loan agreement in their hand. That means they also want what we're selling. So it's the obvious and maybe less obvious, and pursuing those as aggressively as possible. Yes, they're super competitive, and they're going to be really, really hard, but there's a couple things you can do in tandem that will help out those efforts. The second is what I call low intent. These are keywords that indicate somebody fits your demographic, but does not necessarily want the product you're selling. So for our business, if somebody types in QuickBooks Online or somebody types in small business tax deductions, I know they're a small business owner. I have no idea if they want a loan. I have no idea if they want a credit card or a bank account, but I know they fit our demographic. And what you'll find is that content's a little bit easier to rank for, and therefore you start really building that big top of funnel a lot faster than you would if you just focused on your high traffic, high intent keywords. Not to mention it can also create business opportunity. I sort of hinted at earlier, we were this small business loan marketplace to start, and now we've started selling additional products. And it's frankly because we had the traffic sitting there and needed to find new ways to monetize it, because if you do not want a loan, you should not get one. And that's is very unique about our product, but that has really opened up business opportunities for us. And then the last thing I'll sort of emphasize here, especially when you're just starting out, is the power of Longtail, which if you've ever read any blog, you've probably read that, but I don't see enough people doing it. If you go after keywords that have a couple hundred searches a month and they're not very competitive, it's very easy to rank for them. And let's say you get one that gives you a couple hundred visits a month. You can convert 2 to 3 people a month. Well, that's 36 people a year. But guess what? If you have 10 of those pages, that's 360 people. If you have 100 of those people, that's 3,600. Those can really add up for minimal effort, for just writing great content that for those very, very long tail keywords. So you're kind of going long as you're at the same time working to go kind of up and up and up and higher with those higher competitor things. So I can't stress this enough. I think this is the backbone of all great content marketing strategies. I don't believe content marketing can exist without SEO. That's just my experience. A couple tools I use, everybody uses Google Keyword Planner. I really like SEMrush and Ahrefs. I think you should actually research in multiple tools and bring those things together, because all the data is going to be like a little bit inaccurate and helps you get more of like an all-inclusive view. So that's where I always start. That's how we decide what to write. Even if we're writing something that's newsworthy or we're writing something that's meant to go and do really well on social, we might as well find a keyword to go with it, even if it gets 50 hits a month. That's 50 people we'll be getting every month that we wouldn't have if we just had not taken the time. So this is something that it was really crazy for our business. And another thing to think about if you have a content marketing arm or you're thinking about implementing one is, where does that content live? The first thing everybody does when they start a content strategy is they start a blog. Who here has a blog? That's really it? Like, okay. I think some people are lying, but so I don't mean like a personal blog where you're blogging about yourself. I mean, your company has a blog. Your company probably has a blog and you don't even know it, and that's the scarier part. And there's nothing wrong with blogs. They're great. Again, built our business. But that being said, blogs generally in their format are not built for conversion. There's a lot of things people try. It just doesn't work as well as a product page or a landing page. So we did a test where we looked at all of our blog traffic and we looked at all of the terms, even if they were lower traffic, that indicated high intent. And we decided, if you go to the next slide, Jake, to turn them into what looked like a landing page. This page is legitimately exactly every single word that was in the blog article, except there's CTAs throughout it. When we did this, we increased conversion by 5x. I kid you not. It was like the simplest, single most impactful thing we've done from a content marketing perspective.
So I bring this up for you to ask yourself the question of, where do I put the content? I generally
feel those things that fall into that high intent bucket, which you actually are going to find is not necessarily the most ginormous bucket in the world, should have a product-like experience to them. They should be designed by a designer to convert. And then for your things, there are those lower intent things that, again, are just demographic, sort of suggestive, but don't necessarily show intent. Use your blog for that to then get them to sign up for your email, nurture them, so that the time comes when they do need to make a decision associated with your business, they're able to do that. You've built trust with them. You've built your brand up with them. Yes?
Is there an article?
Yeah, if you scroll down, okay, screenshots on PowerPoint are not good. If you scroll down, it's a whole article about finding the best small business loans for women. But, if you Google it on your phone right now, you can also look at it. It'll be the first thing that pops up, small business loans for women. And you can get an idea of that it's a long-form content page with CTAs thrown within. That makes it sound lazy, strategically put within. And then last thing I just like to throw in at the end, one of them is just a reminder, one of them is something I feel very passionate about. LSI keywords, always know them. When you're writing for one keyword, is there other keywords you can try to rank the article for? The best way to find out these keywords is go type the keyword in the search engine and see what else pops up. Google also loves this because it feels very human, it feels very relevant, and it saves work for you down the road too. So if you are writing, you're trying to go after on-page SEO, if you could also capture all those longer tail words under it with that one page, you've just better used your resources. The last thing is content length. Everybody that I've ever talked to about this firmly believes nobody reads long content. Great, I'm glad you think that. I'm going to keep writing really long content and ranking #1 because guess what? Average content length by position, search rankings. 1, 2, and 3, see they're almost all 2,500 words. Is anybody here writing 2,500 words on a regular basis? Good for you. Oh, there you go. It really makes a difference. And yes, it is a harder user experience, and this is where you really need to get your product and design teams there and helping understand how do we get more people to engage with this content. But ultimately, there's different types of content. There's content that's geared towards acquisition that all you're trying to do is get that person to the site. And once you're there, put them in a product-like experience where you can convert them. If it is something that's meant to be more educational, just make sure the content's good. I say this because people read our stuff, and it's because it's serious stuff. If you need to figure out your tax deductions, you're not going to want to go through a 10 quick steps. You want in-depth understanding of how this works because it's literally life or death for some of these people. So you can argue about it all you want. Just give it a try. See how it works, especially for a few things, terms you're really interested in. I promise you longer content wins. So we can jump ahead. And so again, I said content creation was absolutely the most important part. It's what I wanted to focus in on today. We do jump ahead 2 more slides. I will briefly discuss what I mean by the other 4 parts, and this is just if you're just starting out or trying to reframe things, thinking through these things as you're setting up teams or whatever it may be. Outside of content creation, the 3 things you need to be thinking about is your infrastructure, and this is all very technical. There could be something in your code that's blocking the robots without you even realizing it. Your site speed could be dragging down not only your user engagement, but your keyword ranking. So you need to hire somebody internally or externally that knows technical SEO, because I always compare SEO to like a house, and the infrastructure, your technical SEO, is your foundation. If there are cracks in it, it's never going to get built. So start there, because you don't want to put in all this work, you don't want to spend all this money on resources building out content, nothing goes with it, and it turns out your JavaScript was blocking the robots the whole time, or you accidentally had pages in the robots TXT and you had no idea. A lot of big mistakes can happen there that could easily be fixed with somebody that's an expert here. It's not that expensive either, and we could talk about that after. The other thing, just again, there's so much here and I only have so little time, is content optimization. Once you throw a piece of content up on the site, you don't just leave it there. You have to keep perfecting it. A couple things. Google really likes updated content. So if they have the option to display something that was last updated last month or 2 years ago, they're generally going to lean towards something that was updated a month ago because it's more likely more relevant. They also, there are other ways you can really sort of test your way into more traffic. One of my favorites is click-through rate testing. Most of you probably run headline tests on your emails. You probably run A/B tests on your social media or Google AdWords. You should be doing the same thing with your organic SERP listings. You can actually go and change your title tag, change your meta tag. There are tools out there that let you test against what it was previously and what it is now, and try to get the number of clicks you have going up without even changing your ranking. It's just like marketing 101 in terms of A/B testing. But the kicker is that if you get to a place where you've got a title tag that's beating out your old one, Google looks at that and they say, this is getting more clicks. People must find it more relevant. Maybe I'll push it up in ranking. It works so well. It's a little bit of tedious work, but it can offer up some big wins if you do get a really successful title tag in there. So that's an insight to content optimization. Always asking yourself, how do we make it better? And lastly is content distribution, and I wrote it like this because everybody, again, link building is a very dirty word. There's a lot of controversy around this. Again, going back to my long content theory, it's like you guys can all stop link building, that's fine. I'll keep link building and, ranking #1. The fact is it works. What does not work is cheating Google, is going out and getting those shitty links and being part of those weird link circles or like all this stuff you read about on the internet that's terrible. That does not work. What works is really promoting your content building your brand identity, building your domain authority. So you can do this through, we have a really close relationship with our communications department, getting the Fundera name out there, getting Fundera in very high authority places, getting those links back to Fundera. This could be writing for other sites. We write for Inc. and Entrepreneur and Forbes and Fortune and all these other places that we're able to source ourselves a lot of the times, because sometimes we are the only source on the internet on particular things. We also can have a lot of interesting data internally that we can package and put out there in reports for bloggers or reporters, and they offer that link back up. We've written statistic roundup posts before, like 28 small business statistics you need to know. And it gets linked to all the time because people are so lazy when they write, they're not actually going to go to the first source, they go to our roundup source. It's ridiculous, but it's all content first. And if you do it that way, you're doing it the right way, because you're only promoting the thing that Google is looking to promote, which is your content. So that's content distribution. You absolutely need it. It's very difficult to do it without it unless you're working for a big brand that just gets a ton of press coverage on their own. So the last and final question I always get is how we work and how we make this work at Fundera. And just to give you an idea of our team structure and how we invest in that, I have 4 mid-level managers. Again, somebody that focuses in on those partnerships with the other publications like Inc. and Entrepreneur and Forbes and all those places. I also, communications PR sits under my team, so again, we're strategically aligned on how those things are working together. On the flip side, there's a lot content can offer to a press department, as I'm sure many of you know, whether it's helping on social campaigns or video work, or we've put together, again, a lot of times reports mainly for our comms person because they needed something to work with if it was a quieter month in terms of news. I have a managing editor who oversees our internal editorial strategy and everything that gets put up on our site. And I have an SEO manager who does our keyword research and our technical SEO and runs our internal link building team. And so we do have a social media manager, a few different writers, editors, and some link builders internally too. And the last thing is I love tools. We use a lot. These are my favorite. Again, a little messed up slide. I do apologize. So if you guys want to take a picture of this, if it's helpful, the last slide is just my email. If anybody has questions, you can shoot them to me.
Thank you. Let's give Meredith another round of applause.